In my previous life, Stella and I were tied to a cliff by Blaze's enemies. Without hesitation, he chose his childhood sweetheart. Before the rope holding me was cut, he said, if I could do it all over again, I would marry Stella from the very beginning. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of my wedding. Holding the ring, he turned and ran off the stage. Then knelt down on one knee in front of his childhood sweetheart. Stella, would you run away with me and call off the wedding? I never expected that he had also been reborn. As he wished, I fulfilled their wishes. However, later on, he regretted it and knelt down, begging me to give him another chance. At this moment, Stella was staring in surprise, covering her mouth with her hand and nodding repeatedly. Blaze put the ring on her finger, and the two of them ran out of the auditorium hand in hand. The guests present were still in shock, all looking at the scene in confusion. Standing on the stage, I was the first to recover from the shock. Give me the microphone. I reached out to the host. Hearing my voice, the dazed host immediately came to his senses and handed me the microphone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. Now, the wedding is cancelled, and all the gifts received will be returned one by one. But the banquet will still be held as planned. I'm very sorry for taking up your precious time. I hope you all enjoy the food and drinks. Consider it my apology to all of you. After saying that, I bowed sincerely. Whispers had already broken out among the audience. What's going on? The groom actually ran away from the wedding. This groom is so unreliable. What a beautiful bride. And yet he just ran off. Wow. I can't believe I actually witnessed something like this. My words were elegant and composed. Besides the curiosity of onlookers, the guests mostly felt sympathy for me. As soon as I finished speaking, my parents rushed over to help me down from the stage. My mother asked worriedly, "What happened? Avery? Who is that Stella?" "She's Blaze's childhood sweetheart," I replied calmly. My father was indignant. Fortunately, hadn't fulfilled my ambition. You two plan to get the marriage certificate after the wedding. I've always said that that boy isn't good enough for my precious daughter. Okay. Let's not talk about this for now. You go and find Blaze's parents and deal with the matter of returning the gifts with them. My mother instructed my father before pulling me to the dressing room to change clothes. All right. My father responded and went to find them. Unexpectedly, my best friend stormed in a short while later, cursing as she came. The Blaze family is too outrageous. The son ran away from the wedding, and the parents tried to run off without a care in the world when they chased after him. Luckily, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. We got there in time, or the whole family would have driven away, my best friend said angrily. Avery paid for the hotel and the banquet. That's fine. But we didn't accept the Blaze family's gifts. Who's going to return them now that they've all left? Upon hearing this, I frowned. In my previous life, I didn't have much contact with Blaze's parents. Before I married Blaze, they had always lived in the countryside. After we got married, Blaze brought them to the city and they lived in another one of my houses. Seeing that I didn't look well, my mother quickly came to comfort me. Avery, don't be sad over someone who isn't worth it. I relaxed my brows and smiled at them. I'm fine. I just remembered that I haven't cancelled the book transportation and hotel rooms yet. For this wedding, to boost Blaze's reputation, his family invited almost everyone from their village. They even specifically asked me to arrange 2 buses for transportation and hotel accommodation. Hearing my words, both of them breathed a sigh of relief. My best friend said enthusiastically, "Don't worry, Avery. Leave this to me." When I met Blaze in college, he was always following me, showing concern and not caring about other people's opinions. I just found it annoying. It wasn't until I encountered hooligans near the school alone and he rushed out to fight for me, getting his leg injured and hospitalized, that I softened my heart and agreed to be with him. Stella was his childhood sweetheart. She seemed gentle on the outside but was actually very bold, always centering everything around Blaze. When I was indifferent to Blaze's pursuit, she stepped forward and accused me of being arrogant and impolite. After Blaze and I started dating, she said, "Anyway, You're not married yet. I'll always wait for him to come back to me. I was so annoyed that I wanted to break up with Blaze. But he told me that they weren't just friends who grew up together. Stella's father had died trying to save him when he was a child and fell into the water. So Blaze had promised her family that he would take care of her. Once again, I softened my heart. The time for the banquet had passed, with my family helping to make arrangements. I didn't go to the hotel entrance to see the guests off in person. Unexpectedly, by the time I was ready to go home, the commotion had shifted from the banquet hall to the entrance. All of Blaze's relatives were gathered at the entrance, making a racket. As soon as Blaze's mother saw me, she rushed over. Avery, this is all a misunderstanding. Quickly call the buses and send our relatives to their accommodation. My mother stepped forward and pulled her hand away. In a not-so-friendly tone, she said, now that the wedding is cancelled, there's no relationship between our two families anymore. Blaze's mother looked helpless and pleaded, but you can't just leave us high and dry. All of your Avery family's relatives have left, and our Blaze family's relatives came all the way from the countryside specifically for the banquet. That's no longer our concern. You should ask your son to sort it out, my mother said as she led me outward. We can't get in touch with him right now, Blaze's mother muttered softly. I had already heard from my best friend that Blaze had turned off his phone when he left the hotel, but I didn't want to get involved in his family's affairs anymore and just wanted to leave as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, when Blaze's father saw that his wife hadn't stopped us, he directly blocked our way, pretending to be indignant on my behalf. Avery, don't worry. Your mother-in-law and I only recognize you as our daughter-in-law. When we find that brat, we'll definitely apologize to you in person. Seeing that I didn't show any signs of anger, he thought I must still have feelings for Blaze. He leaned in closer and whispered, you can't embarrass us like this in front of relatives and friends. Right? Don't worry. That boy has always listened to me the most since he was a child. I felt uncomfortable and quickly took a few steps back to create some distance. They had been causing a commotion in the hall for a while, and many guests were complaining. Leaving other things aside, this was my family's property, and it couldn't afford to have its reputation damaged. I directly called the security guards to drive them out. To my surprise, I received a call from Blaze that night, full of accusations. Avery, how could you do this? Don't you know that my relatives all came from the countryside specifically for this? You just left them at the hotel entrance, ignoring them. I sneered. They're your relatives, not mine. What does it have to do with me? Blaze was in the wrong but still argued forcefully. They're also your elders. And you cancelled all the book transportation and hotel rooms. Do you know how much money my parents spent to send them all back? Sitting on the soft sofa, I stroked the cat in my arms casually and reminded him inferiorly. Did you forget that we haven't gotten the marriage certificate yet? So you didn't. He exclaimed in surprise and then suddenly stopped. Didn't what? Get reborn. But I wasn't going to tell him that. Blaze, get this straight. I didn't beg you to marry me. I have no obligation to clean up your mess, I said before hanging up the phone. The dramatic events of the wedding banquet didn't have much of an impact on my life. I used the originally scheduled wedding leave to have fun with my friends, enjoying myself to the fullest. My gossipy friends kept me updated on Blaze and Stella's whereabouts. She showed me photos in a huge private room. There were petals and balloons everywhere. And a group of people surrounded Blaze and Stella. By the blue sea, the two of them kissed passionately, completely lost in the moment. Perhaps influenced by what I saw during the day, that night while camping at the resort. I thought of my previous life again. I grew up in a wealthy family. My parents were the heads of two families. Blaze, on the other hand, came from an ordinary family. To prove his ambition and hard-working nature, he didn't join the company under my family after graduation. He worked steadily in a small company for 2 years after graduation, but his performance was always at the bottom. My parents felt sorry for how hard he worked and secretly provided him with a lot of resources and connections. In just 1 year, his performance improved dramatically. 5 years after our marriage, he became the vice president without much effort. As his career became more successful, He started complaining that I wasn't as gentle and considerate as other wives, that I didn't take care of his daily life personally, and that in the 10 years we had known each other, I had never cooked a meal for him. I didn't quite understand. We both had our own careers, and I was willing to pay professionals to handle these trivial matters. What was there for him to be dissatisfied with? Especially after I took over my parents' business. He always advised me not to work too hard and said that I could leave anything I didn't want to do to him. He would take care of making money, and I should just focus on looking beautiful. Looking back now, it's really laughable. My whole family knew how proud he was, and for his sake, we never mentioned the help we had given him. He thought that his smooth sailing in his career was all due to his own abilities. In fact, he was not only a Phoenix man, who rose from humble beginnings, but also wanted to turn me into a pampered housewife. That's when Stella reappeared. I had a severe stomachique at home and called him, but he hung up on me. Later, I unexpectedly saw him at the hospital, accompanying Stella for a prenatal checkup. After Blaze and I got our marriage certificate, Stella married a rich businessman 10 years older than her out of spite. After experiencing a failed marriage, she met Blaze, who was also unhappy in his family life. The two hit it off and started a long-awaited romance. Of course, I confronted him when I found out, but he said that he had only been with me before because I could provide him with a good material life. Now that he could live a good life on his own, only pure and true love was the most precious thing in the world. I just thought it was ridiculous. On the surface, he didn't seem to have accepted any favors from my family. But in fact, thanks to his deliberate publicity, everyone who knew him knew that he was the son-in-law of the heads of the Avery family and the Ann family. I fell asleep without realizing it. When I woke up, it was almost noon. I groggily ran from the tent to the restroom. When I came back, I got lost. After taking several turns, I unexpectedly ended up at the barbecue area. This was a commercial scenic spot with rows of open-air triangular tents. Across the lake, I could see the mountains. The weather was very nice that day. The sunlight shone beautifully on the lush mountains, and colorful bubbles blown by children floated in the air. I couldn't help but stop to admire the beautiful scenery. Just then, without a well sigh, I heard a familiar name. I heard someone ask, "Blaze, your running away from the wedding was really unexpected. Aren't you afraid that Avery will get back at you in the future?" I followed the sound and looked over. Under a tent, Blaze was holding Stella in his arms and drinking. He said unfearily, "She's too high and mighty to do something like that. You chased after her for 2 years and dated for 3. Don't you have any feelings for her at all?" Someone teased. Blaze laughed brazenly, then lowered his head and kissed Stella on the lips. I was young and ignorant before. Now, there's only Stella in my heart. The girl in his arms giggled coquettishly. Suddenly, I was bumped by a child playing nearby, and almost fell to the ground. The boy quickly apologized to me. "Sorry, pretty sister. I didn't mean to." The child was cute and sweet-tongued. "It's okay." I smiled at him reassuringly, and watched him run away. When I turned back, I saw that everyone over there was looking at me. Blaze put down his wine glass and frowned at me. "Are you regretting it now? The wedding has been cancelled, and we've broken up. You're not so shameless that you'd come here and pester me, are you?" Stella looked at me warily, immediately straddled Blaze's lap, and leaned her head on his shoulder to claim her sovereignty. "I said before that no one knows who the final winner will be until the end. Now that Blaze is with me, you wouldn't want to butt in, would you?" Blaze stroked her head reassuringly. "Don't worry. I have no feelings for her anymore. I only love you." Watching their series of performances, I couldn't help but laugh. "You're overthinking it. I wish you two were locked together." "I was just passing by. Carry on." The moment I turned to leave, I saw Blaze's face turn as dark as the bottom of a pot. In my last life, after we got married, we didn't have children for several years. It was only after an examination that we found out he had as the no spermiae. Afraid that I'd be unhappy, he took the initiative to say that it didn't matter if we didn't have children. He didn't want to see me suffer the pain of childbirth, and we could live a two-person life together. I had no objections. Unexpectedly, behind my back, He actually asked Stella to undergo in vitro fertilization for him. Due to the large gap in our family backgrounds, we had always kept work and personal life separate at home and never talked about work-related matters. It wasn't until I was kidnapped by his enemy that I learned that he had been to smooth sailing in his career, acting not only arrogantly but also without any bottom line. At that time, my hands were tightly bound, and I was hanging under a crooked branch on a cliff. Stella was also tied up at the other end of the rope. A dirty and in a sorry state man was pulling on the rope, laughing wildly with his head thrown back. He taunted Blaze. If you could only choose one of them to save, who would it be? Your wife? Or the woman carrying your child? This kidnapper was a competitor whom he had bankrupted through improper means. In the end, Blaze didn't hesitate to choose Stella. I was about to divorce Blaze at that time, and I even lost my life in vain because of him. There should be few people as unlucky as me in this world. So I got a chance to start over. They were true lovers, in my last life, and I was passively cast as the villain in the middle. Of course, in this life, I wished them to be together forever. Unexpectedly, Hanin fulfilled wife session. In this second chance at life, Blaze was still my bad luck charm. I had only met him twice, and each time brought me misfortune. As the saying goes, when a person is out of luck, they can even fall on flat ground. When someone helped me up, I first silently cursed my bad luck in my heart. And then I looked up at the person in front of me. The man was tall and straight, with delicate and three-dimensional facial features. His long light golden hair was simply tied up, revealing a face so beautiful that it was hard to tell whether he was male or female. Thank you. I thanked him politely after taking a moment to admire his appearance, planning to leave as soon as he responded. Unexpectedly, he just stood there looking at me without saying a word. I raised my hand in confusion and pointed to my ear. Soren lowered his head, a smile in his clear eyes, and said softly, "You're welcome, Avery. There's nothing wrong with my ears." I was taken aback, only realizing how awkward the situation was later. "Do you know me?" Searching through my memories, I couldn't recall ever knowing such a handsome guy in either my past life or this one. Before the person across from me could answer, Blaze and his cronies had somehow followed us. "Avery. Who is he?" Blaze asked in an unfriendly tone. Stella sneered. "Blaze. Look. Avery is already looking for her next target right after you dumped her." I rolled my eyes in annoyance. "It's none of your business." His face darkened. "So you like sissies like this? No wonder you were so pretentious when I was chasing you. Turns out you have a unique taste." The people around laughed at his words. I was a little angry. If you could just take a look at yourself, you wouldn't say such overconfident things. Secondly, I'm ashamed to have dated you. Can we not mention this in the future? It makes me feel like you're showing off to others that your ex-girlfriend is such a beauty like me. I sneered and didn't forget to give Stella a look up and down. Stella's smug expression fell. "Blaze. Why did you follow us? Could it be that you still have feelings for her?" Blaze pulled her into his arms and soothed her. "How could that be? I came here to laugh at her. Now my body and heart belong only to you. Otherwise, why would I have eloped with you at the wedding?" Blaze looked at me coldly and sneered. "Don't get me wrong. I dumped you at the wedding first. I was afraid that you couldn't let go of me and would degenerate, grabbing onto any man on the street out of desperation." My expression was cold. Having dated Blaze in both this life and the last was like a stain on my record. I have nothing to say to a man like you who has no self-awareness. Please pretend not to know me if we meet in the future. I ignored him, turned around, and grabbed Soren's wrist. Walking away, I didn't stop until we were out of their sight. Letting go of his hand, I apologized. "Sorry about that." There seemed to be a hint of melancholy between his brows as he looked at me calmly. What he said next was unexpected. He asked me, "Am I not good-looking?" "Of course not. You're very handsome. Extremely good-looking. Just treat what happened just now as if you met a crazy person, and don't take it to heart. Okay?" I immediately denied it. "Okay." Soren smiled warmly. He was already handsome, and his smile made him even more charming. I was almost dazzled by his smile. Then he added, "As long as you think I'm good-looking." As a 30-year-old soul, I could naturally sense the ambiguity in his words. My phone rang in my pocket while I was still thinking. Sure enough, it was a call from a friend. "Where did you go?" she asked. "You're awake?" "I got lost on my way to the restroom." "Share your location with me." Hanging up the phone, I waved at Soren. "I have to go now. Shall we exchange contact information?" He took out his phone and waved it, looking into his dark eyes that were as clear as the water under a rice paddy. I smiled. Sure. From then on, he started chatting with me every day. Sometimes he shared his daily life, and sometimes he talked about our interests, but he never asked me about Blaze. He was gentle, gentlemanly, and had a sense of boundaries, making him a great chat partner. Before the end of the vacation, I went back to my parents' house. That's when I learned that Stella had been running a video account for a long time, documenting her journey from unrequited love to getting what she wanted, and had gained a good amount of traffic. It turned out that they had been flirting even when I was dating Blaze. Occasionally, in her captions, I was portrayed as an anonymous third party. My parents were furious when they saw this. After an investigation, we found out that even the scene where I was rescued was a stunt directed by Blaze himself. The story of Stella's father sacrificing his life to save me was also fake. The reason we only found out the truth now was that I had never told my parents about these things in my previous life. But since things had come to this, I could only try to soothe them. Anyway, there were no photos or videos of me involved. And now that I had completely cut ties with Blaze, there was no point in getting worked up over these small matters. Although my father was still angry, he was more relieved for me. "You've always been rational, able to let go when needed. As long as you're happy. That's the most important thing for your mother and me." My mother nodded in agreement and reminded my father to withdraw all the resources and connections he had given to Blaze. Although we wouldn't take the initiative to seek revenge, we definitely wouldn't give him any more benefits. Let Blaze struggle on his own and see his true strength. And I had already become one of the decision makers in the company earlier than in my last life. My assistant handed me a tablet. "President Avery, these are the candidates for the new perfume endorsement of Chifei this quarter. Please take a look and see which one is suitable." I took the tablet and my finger stopped when I saw a familiar face on the screen. The assistant introduced beside me. Soren, 24 years old. A well-known young actor abroad. He returned to China with top-tier status. Although his influence in China is not as strong as the other candidates, his appearance and temperament match this main product very well. Chifei is a Chinese perfume brand renowned both at home and abroad. The main product this time is a perfume with a cold and refreshing scent, as cold and clear as the moon. Indifferent yet gentle. The face I saw last time came to my mind. His image and temperament were a perfect fit. I nodded. Let it be him. I hadn't seen Soren for a week. After receiving the endorsement invitation from the company, he agreed quickly. He immediately sent me a WeChat message inviting me to watch his shooting on the same day. "This endorsement is from your company. I'm new here. You'll come and support me, right?" It was hard for me to imagine him saying such a slightly cheeky thing with that beautiful face. I found it a bit funny. The young master of the Soren family group still needs my support. He was very straightforward and sent a cute emoticon. "Come and watch me shoot that day. Please. Please." With my current status, I didn't need to go and watch the advertisement shooting in person at all. But somehow, I still agreed. Okay. When I arrived at the studio, Soren was still in the dressing room. Although I knew Soren was good-looking, when the door opened, I was still amazed by his appearance. His extremely beautiful face was truly a masterpiece of nature. His white gold hair was tied with a silver-blue ribbon, and he wore blue-black chains on his earlobes, which faintly glinted coldly. His calm eyes seemed to shine with ripples when he saw me. "You're here." He walked straight to me, ignoring everyone around. "Yeah. I'm here to supervise. I'll deduct your salary if you don't shoot well," I teased with a smile. "Okay. Will there be a reward if I do a good job?" He looked at me expectantly. I tilted my head and thought for 2 seconds. Then perfunctorily said, "How about I treat you to dinner?" "Okay." He agreed very readily. We quickly got into the shooting state. Soren was simply a natural in front of the camera. Every shot of him was stunning. We completed the shooting in only half of the originally planned time. I was supposed to treat him to dinner. But in the end, he drove me to a private restaurant himself. This wasn't the first time we'd met alone. And the dinner was very pleasant. Although Soren had a face that seemed untouchable, he wasn't cold-hearted at all. He was very attentive and funny when he talked. After dinner, he drove me home. In the car, he suddenly asked me, "Do you remember that I recognized you the first time we met?" Of course I remember. By the way, you still haven't told me why. I turned to look at him in confusion. Although his tone was smiling, he was obviously nervous. Because I've liked you for a long time. I was shocked by this answer. For a long time? Wasn't that the first time we met? You really forgot about me. He sighed and told me a story that I had buried deep in my memory. Our first meeting was when we were 17. At Soren's mother's fashion show in Country L. He fell in love with me at first sight. Soren looked a little aggrieved as he said, "We even talked." About what? I had no idea. Hello. What? I didn't understand and asked again. I said hello to you. And then you replied with a hello too. So our first meeting was actually just a simple greeting under the introduction of our parents. Seeing me laugh happily, he explained shyly. I was so nervous back then that I didn't know how to show my affection. The more he talked, the redder his ears became. Later, because his mother was ill, he accompanied her for treatment abroad. By the time his mother recovered and they returned to the country, I had already accepted Blaze's confession. At this moment, the car stopped downstairs. He turned to me seriously and asked, "So, would you give me a chance?" His eyes were incredibly bright, and there was still a blush on his face that hadn't faded. Looking into his eyes, I didn't think for too long. Sure. He was stunned, as if he couldn't believe it. What? I smiled. Didn't you want to date me? I agreed. During these days of getting along, I already knew his feelings. His way of pursuing me was very different from Blaze's. Although he was also passionate, he knew when to advance and when to retreat, always considering my feelings first. He looked into my eyes and repeated, "You really agreed?" I smiled and reached out to touch his long, flowing hair. It was soft and cool, and the texture was just as good as I had imagined. Are you surprised? You come from a good family. You're good looking. And you like me. It's hard for me to find a reason to reject you. A smile bloomed on his handsome face, and he held my hand in his. When he gently kissed the back of my hand, he was like a devout believer. 2 years passed by unconsciously. After confirming my relationship with Soren, I truly realized that love is only truly happy when you're with someone you like and who likes you back. I was on a business trip in Zhongcheng. After work, I asked Soren to go with me to pick out gifts for our families. As we walked out of the jewelry store, I heard a familiar voice behind me. A coquettize every made me feel a little nauseous. I knew who it was without even turning around. Stella. When I turned around, I saw a woman not far away wearing a fiery red dress, which was very different from her innocent-looking appearance 2 years ago. She was arm in arm with a short, chubby man whose figure was a bit flabby. When the man's eyes landed on my face, there was a clear look of amazement. "What do you want?" I didn't want to talk to her much. Stella's expression turned a little ugly, and she forced a smile, but still came up to greet me. "You two are really together?" Although Soren was wearing a hat and a mask, his long platinum blonde hair, tied up, was still very noticeable. Stella covered her mouth in surprise. "But isn't he a celebrity?" Soren was an actor. Over the past 2 years, almost all his fans knew that he was in a relationship, but his girlfriend's identity hadn't been made public. "It's none of your business." After saying that, I took Soren's hand and turned to leave. Unexpectedly, hadn't fulfilled way Sasher. She suddenly raised her voice and shouted, "Soren!" It was the time when the shopping mall was crowded. Hearing the name of a popular artist, many people around looked at us. Soren quickly took off the scarf hanging on his wrist and blocked my face completely before we could be photographed. While the crowd hadn't gathered yet, he put his arm around me, and we left quickly. Unexpectedly, had until February. Within an hour. Topics like Soren's girlfriend, Soren and Zhang Cheng, and Soren's girlfriend's true identity climbed to the top of the trending list. Without thinking, I knew someone was fanning the flames behind the scenes. But we didn't suspect Stella. Just because she didn't have that much money to buy trending topics. After all, in recent years, except for a short period of popularity when she was dating Blaze at the beginning, as Blaze's career declined day by day, they had already broken up. I heard that her current boyfriend's family was only moderately wealthy. I originally thought that Blaze and she were true love. Without me in the way, they should have stayed together until old age. Unexpectedly, after losing financial support, the two went their separate ways. As expected, Soren quickly found out the real mastermind. It's a small director in the group. Over the years, Soren chose to be an actor just to experience different lives. Even though he was the son of the chairman, he couldn't just parachute into the head office. The new branch company he had managed since graduation became the most profitable subsidiary in the group this year. As he was about to officially join the senior management of the Soren family and take over the family business, the person behind the scenes couldn't find any mistakes in his work, so they wanted to create an public opinion storm through his private life, hoping to prevent him from taking over his father's position smoothly. Seeing my worried expression, Soren sat on the chair and gently hugged my waist. He said softly, "It's okay. I can handle it." I looked down, and he looked up at me with bright eyes. I bent down and held his face in my hands. His faint, cold fragrance lingered around my nose. I gave him a quick kiss on the lips. Let's go public. In the past 2 years, most of Soren's major fans had met me. Those who really couldn't accept their idol being in a relationship had already unfollowed him. And for the public opinion within the Soren family, my identity would only add to his prestige. On that day, Soren announced my identity on his personal social media account. Over the past few years, I had represented the group at many external events, so it wasn't difficult to find related videos and photos on the internet. With the verification from the Soren family and the official accounts of the two companies, the public opinion died down quickly. While fans on the internet were planning our wedding banquet, Soren and I also set the date for our engagement. Half a month later, in the hotel's dressing room, after the stylist finished my makeup and hair, she left. I was about to change my clothes when the door suddenly opened. I was shocked to see that it was Blaze. After not seeing him for more than 2 years, he looked extremely decadent. "What are you doing in here?" I was on guard. "Avery," Blaze called me affectionately. After walking into the dressing room, he locked the door. "Long time no see. Have you missed me?" "Blaze. What do you mean? It's over between us." I took a few steps back, my body tense, and my voice cold. "Get out. Avery. I think of you every day." Blaze walked closer and closer, his eyes full of longing and unwillingness. "During the time we've been apart, I finally realized that I can't live without you." "No, I haven't," I replied without hesitation. I said impatiently, "The farther away you stay from me, the better." I picked up my phone to call for help. Blaze let out a chuckle and quickened his pace. He snatched the phone from me and threw it against the wall. I trembled. I was really shocked by his actions. He must have tiddied himself up before coming. But the dark circles under his eyes and the strong smell of cigarettes on him showed how decadent he was. Blaze suddenly reached out and grabbed my wrist, pressing me against the mirror. "Avery, do you really want to marry that man? Then what was all the sincerity I showed while following you around all these years?" At this moment, he looked like a beast that had lost its mind. I felt extremely uncomfortable and was filled with anger. This bastard was so disgusting. When Blaze's face was less than a centimeter away from mine, I took him by surprise, clenched my fist, and punched him in the nose. I was unlucky. I turned and ran towards the door. When I pressed the doorknob, heard the click, I felt a sense of relief. Suddenly, a hand reached out beside my ear, and a wet handkerchief covered my mouth and nose. As the pungent smell entered my nostrils, I blacked out and went limp. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Blaze's back standing by the cliff. I looked around at the environment. This was the place where I fell off the cliff in my previous life. I was uninjured, but several ropes were wrapped around my chest and abdomen, tying me to a tree. I tried to calm myself down and asked the person standing a meter away from me, with his back to me, "Blaze, what do you want?" Hearing this, Blaze turned around and knelt in front of me. His voice was hoarse. "Avery, I was wrong. We should have gotten married. You belong to me. Let's start over. Okay?" "No. Since you chose Stella, why didn't you stay with her properly? Why are you still bothering my life?" I was annoyed by this. He angrily punched the ground and said angrily, "Stella is a liar. Her tenderness and innocence are all fake. She's a shameless slut. When I ignored her, she clung to me like glue. After we got together, she spent all my money. And just because I was unemployed for 2 months, she broke up with me and went to sleep with her top fan. I didn't know much about these things. No wonder Stella looked so different the last time I saw her." I was thinking about saying something more to stall for time. An angry shout came from midair. "Blaze! You bastard! Let me down!" Only then did I notice that there was someone else tied up and hanging in the air on a tree branch behind me. It was indeed Stella. Blaze ignored her and looked at me with tenderness in his eyes. He reached out to touch my face, but I turned my head to avoid him. He coaxed gently, "Avery, this time, how about I make her die? Forgive me, and let's get back together. If you kill someone, you'll also die," I reminded him. He stood up and smiled indifferently. "Avery, do you believe in past lives and this life? In the last life, we were husband and wife. In this life, I didn't marry you because I was deceived by Stella. There was no Soren in the last life at all. Everything was wrong. I will make everyone go back to their original places, and make you belong only to me." His emotions became more and more agitated, and Stella kept cursing and struggling in my jura. My heart also skipped a beat. "What on earth are you going to do? Die? Let's die together." Blaze's smile was sinister and cruel. He took out a knife from his pocket and started cutting the rope that tied Stella. I stared in horror with wide eyes. The terrifying experience of being shattered to pieces in the last life flooded into my mind. I almost lost control and shouted, "Blaze! You can't do that. We've already started over. Even if it happens again, I won't choose you." His action of cutting the rope suddenly stopped, and his eyes were filled with surprise. "Avery, you've been reborn too." "As expected." "Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. I've been reborn too. So even if it happens again, I won't be with you. I only love Soren." At this moment, my face was covered with tears. I was more painful and uneasy than when I faced death in the last life. Being able to live a new life was a kind of luck that I had never imagined. I still have my family and friends who love me. And there's also Soren. What would he do if I died? Today should have been the happiest day for us. Blaze squatted down, and a trace of heartache actually appeared in his eyes. "Avery, if I could do it all over again, I would definitely cherish you. I don't want to do it all over again. Blaze, I don't want to die with you. Even if I went back to the beginning with my memories, I would never have the slightest connection with you again." I said each word slowly, just wanting him to understand my determination that I would never be with him no matter what. When we were looking at each other in silence, Soren came with the police. "Avery." Soren called me from a distance. His usually elegant and indifferent eyes were full of anxiety. "Blaze. Let Avery go. I can be your hostage." Blaze ignored him and put the knife on my neck, warning everyone not to come near. After they stood still at a certain distance, he then turned his head and stared at me persistently. Avery, do you love him that much?" His tone didn't reveal whether he was angry or happy. "Yes." I didn't hesitate. His eyes instantly became lifeless. Suddenly, he seemed to lose all his strength and fell into deep confusion and helplessness. A knife on my neck trembled. He gave a bitter smile. "Avery, whether in the last life or this life, I've never seen you in such an irrational state." "Yes, I've been fooled, because when the other person asked him to make a choice in the last life, I already knew the ending. And in this life, I've had a much better life. And there are so many things that I can't bear to part with. Don't be obsessed any longer. Blaze. Let us go. Tears silently fell from my eyes. And I persuaded him again. Blaze shook his head painfully, stood up, and slashed the knife hard at the rope on the tree. At the same time, 2 gunshots rang out. Bang bang. With Stella's increasingly distant screams. Blaze's body slowly fell in front of me. Then the rope that tied me was untied. And I fell into a familiar embrace. Soren's eyes were extremely red, and his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. I reached out and stroked his eyebrows and eyes, watching his red lips open and close. At this moment, Stella was staring in surprise with wide eyes, covering her mouth with her hand and nodding continuously. After I woke up, I heard that Blaze finally cut the rope that was hanging Stella. And he was only injured in the arm and knee. Due to the excessive emotional ups and downs. He fainted. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. When Soren came to the ward to pick me up after completing the discharge procedures, he brought the latest news. When Blaze learned that I was okay, he committed suicide in the ward. I didn't say anything more. I leaned against Soren's arms and hugged his slender waist tightly. I think this ending is too tragic. And I will definitely cherish this opportunity to live a new life. My cousin, who had just come of age, was obsessed with the culture of Manjiao fictional social media platforms similar to Douyin. Not only did she imitate internet celebrities by starting lit broadcasts, but she also dressed provocatively and chatted online with some shady people. Crop tops for the exam, Manjiao style makeup, and being a so-called toilet warrior were all her favorites. I was well aware of the harm caused by such online dross. So I firmly asked my aunt to take away her mobile phone. As a result, my cousin missed the video of her and Jiaoi idol recruiting disciples. Later, the spiritual girl in that team successfully became popular, achieving financial freedom by doing the flower hand dance. My cousin hated me for taking away her mobile phone, which she thought had severed her romance with the cold and aloof Buddhist guy. My aunt hated me for meddling in her business, believing that I had ruined my cousin's promising future. The two of them jointly pushed me off the rooftop. Given a second chance, I coldly watched as my cousin used a red scarf as a tube top. I smiled and praised her. You were born to make a living in the online world. Thank you, Big Brother, for the shining stars. Remember to send me a private message after the live broadcast to get the welfare photos. My mother and I were sitting in my aunt's living room, and my cousin's voice came from the small room beside us from time to time. What is this child up to again? I'll call her out. My aunt looked at the boxes of gifts in her hands and couldn't stop smiling. But as soon as she opened the door, the scene in the room shocked everyone present. My cousin was wearing a strange off-the-shoulder tube top on her upper body, and there was a mobile phone placed on a selfie stick in front of her. The combination of her childish and playful temperament with the sexy clothes made her look extremely strange. But she felt good about herself and would occasionally make a heart gesture and spin around in front of the camera. My aunt was immediately filled with anger and stepped forward a few steps to take the mobile phone away. Stella, you're secretly playing with the phone again. And you're even wearing my clothes. Are you asking for a spanking? My cousin pouted and put her hands on her hips, narrowing her small, triangular eyes and looking defiantly unyielding. So what? So what? You guys are so old-fashioned. Stop being so uncool, okay? It's really my misfortune to be born into such a family of origin. My mother smiled awkwardly and tried to smooth things over. Children like to be beautiful. Just give her a good education. Don't be angry. I stood aside, saying nothing, because in my previous life, as a teacher, I could tell at a glance that my cousin had been deeply poised and by the Manjiao culture. I picked up her mobile phone and examined it carefully. Using a red scarf as a tube top, mixing menstrual blood with rice. The daily life of post-zeros couples after getting pregnant. The Didio's favorite D and saved in my cousin's Manjiao account were simply be a sight for sore eyes. The combined ages of a family of 3 were even smaller than my shoe size. Is this even Chinese? I immediately explained the pros and cons to my aunt in detail and strongly urged my aunt to confiscate my cousin's mobile phone. I even kept a close eye on her every day at the high school where I worked. With a little intervention, my cousin should be able to get back on the right track. My aunt did as I said. But a few months later, my cousin's favorite Manjawi blogger became extremely popular. Even the blogger's disciples who did the flower hand dance together under the same account made a lot of money. They bought cars, bought houses, and became popular internet celebrities. My aunt was so jealous that her eyes turned red. She thought that I was jealous of my cousin and deliberately put obstacles in her way during her rising period, causing her to miss the opportunity to get rich overnight. My cousin hated me to the bone, thinking that I had made her lose the opportunity to form a couple with the cold and aloof Buddhist guy, using the excuse of tutoring her with her homework. The two of them trekked me onto the school rooftop and jointly pushed me off. Now that I've been given a second chance by fate, I will never make the same mistake again. Looking at my furious aunt and my cousin who stubbornly refused to admit her fault, I smiled. Aunt, you don't know this. Now is the era of the internet. Many big internet celebrities dropped out of school and did the flower hand dance. After a few years, they bought cars and houses and achieved financial freedom at a young age. Didn't some general make a comeback recently and is recruiting disciples? Maybe Stella can take this opportunity to get rich overnight. Seeing that I was agreeing with her, my cousin became even more excited. She said proudly, "Yeah, I'm now a big internet celebrity with 397 followers. My future is limitless. If you dare to mess with me again, the Stella family behind me won't let you off." My aunt had a low education level and didn't really understand what was going on. And I just felt speechless. The few hundred followers my cousin mentioned were either bots or primary school students who followed each other one by one. And what's with this Stella family? To make a living in the online world, you need luck. Without a certain level of education and knowledge as a foundation, even if you become popular, it's impossible to last for a long time. Seeing my mother giving me a meaningful look, I directly pulled her and said goodbye to my aunt. This time, you guys can fend for yourselves. My cousin came to school the next day with red and swollen eyes from crying. When she passed by me, she gave me a fierce glare. It happened to be the time when the Ministry of Education was conducting a spot check. The dean of the teaching department came to me and asked me to give an open class to show myself in front of the leaders. In my previous life, I was so focused on straightening out my cousin that I refused on the grounds of not having time. This time, I didn't hesitate to agree. If I perform well, it will be easier for me to be evaluated as an excellent teacher or a special grade teacher in the future. I prepared for a while and then led my class into the lecture hall. At first, everything went smoothly. Even the leaders sitting at the back of the classroom all showed satisfied smiles. When one is poor, one should perfect oneself. Do you know what the next sentence is? Classmates? It was until I asked this question. There was a slight glimmer in my cousin Stella's eyes. And she raised her hand high to answer the question. When one is rich, one should have a harem of wives and concubines. She blurted it out without hesitation. There was a moment of silence in the class. I could even see some people trying to hold back their laughter. That's wrong. It's when one is successful, one should help the world. I didn't understand what was going on in Stella's mind. I was a bit annoyed but didn't show it. I just motioned for her to sit down. Let's change the question this time. The frosty leaves are redder than the flowers of February. Which classmate knows what the previous sentence is? Stop the carriage and sit to enjoy the maple forest at night. It was still Stella. But this time, she didn't cause any more trouble, and I let out a sigh of relief. Very good. But my cousin was relentless. A somewhat lewd smile appeared on her dark and sallow face. Teacher, I have another question. How did they do it? Some students didn't react at first and were as stunned as I was. But a few classmates who were as obsessed with the Manjawi culture as my cousin burst into wild laughter. I was immediately angry and annoyed. At an age when they should be studying, they had already picked up so many bad habits from Manjawi. This shows how great its influence is. The dean of the teaching department at the back of the classroom was frantically giving me signals. I took a look and knew something was wrong. Several leaders from outside the school frowned and looked displeased. Stella, you are a student now. And your main task is to study and strive to get into a good university. Don't learn all sorts of messy things. This is the last time. I adjusted my expression, trying to make this matter go away as soon as possible. But I don't know which words irritated my cousin. She threw her pen down. Her voice was sharp and shrill. If I can't get into university, so what? I can just go and sell myself. There are so many people online who give tutorials on this kind of thing. If worst comes to worst, I can even go to the KK park. I can make a lot of money there. If I could still consider her previous words as innocent remarks due to her young age. This sentence made me clearly understand the harm that online jokes can do to children who haven't yet formed a correct value system. She was simply beyond redemption. Stella, shut up for me. I shouted at her sternly. And the leaders from outside the school sitting in the back row completely turned dark-faced and showed impatient expressions. Stop. 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 Cindy, how do you teach your students? Haven't you instilled the correct values in them? With this kind of situation, it's hard for me to believe in your teaching ability. I was unable to defend myself and could only lower my head and take the scolding. The school attaches the greatest importance to the school spirit and discipline. No matter what happens privately, it must never be brought out in the open. This time, I could only consider myself unlucky. My cousin praised me a few days ago for having the potential to make a living in the online world. She supports me. You old fogies. What do you know? Stella didn't care about making the situation worse. After saying this, she blinked her eyes innocently. As soon as these words came out, it added fuel to the fire. Nonsense. The elderly leader was so angry that he was fuming. Cindy, you'd better reflect on yourself recently. If you have problems with your own discipline, don't lead the students astray. As for the evaluation for excellence, you'd better get a few more years of experience. I felt like I was a mute eating bitter herbs, with no way to express my bitterness. Meeting my cousin's provocative gaze, I realized clearly that she did it on purpose. She was taking revenge on me. In the afternoon, I received a notice from the teaching affairs office that the remaining classes for today were cancelled. The school is like a small society. The incident that happened in the morning spread throughout the whole school within a few hours. Oh, it's this Cindy. She usually looks so gentle and refined. But I didn't expect her to be so dissolute in private that she even taught the students badly. How could it be fake? Her cousin is young and speaks without thinking. So what she said must be true. She's really shameless. I'm even embarrassed to say the kind of things she taught the students. Several cleaning ladies gathered together and pointed at me. The security guard passing by showed his yellow teeth. Where are you going to make money at night, Cindy? Let me know, and I'll go to boost your performance. I felt so disgusted that I got goosebumps all over my body and fled back to the dormitory as if running away. Just as I was about to take off my suit and change into my own clothes, I heard the sound of click, a hound of click coming from behind me. I was suddenly shocked and turned around to look. I saw my cousin Stella holding a mobile phone, looking annoyed as she adjusted the volume button. How did you get a mobile phone? And what did you take a picture of? I rushed over, trying to snatch the mobile phone away. But she was faster and immediately hid it behind her back. Tell me, did you take some pictures while I was changing clothes? Delete them immediately. Although I wasn't completely naked and was still wearing my underwear. But just thinking that the photos were stored in my cousin's mobile phone and I didn't know what she was going to do with them, I still felt a chill down my spine. Are you from the King Dynasty? It's just a few photos. Why are you so anxious? My classmates all take pictures. And nothing happened to them. The person in front of me muttered softly. What did you say? Your classmates all take pictures? What on earth do you use these photos for? Stella's eyes darted around. And she said confidently. To exchange for egg-game character skins and Lolita dresses. It won't do any harm to let others see them. What are you pretending for? What are you pretending for? How dare you take pictures of me? You disrupted the class in the morning. And now you're taking pictures of me in private. Give me the phone and delete the photos immediately. After holding in my anger for so long, I finally couldn't hold it back and shouted at the person in front of me. I reached out to grab the phone, But my cousin wasn't happy about it. This is my personal property. If you dare to take it, do you believe that I'll call the police and have you arrested? Fortunately, I had the advantage in body size. Without much effort, I managed to grab the phone out of her hand, but it required a password to unlock, and I still couldn't open it. Why, how dare you snatch my things? You're so uncool. Uncool woman. No wonder no man wants you. Stella burst into tears. Cindy. You little slut. How dare you bully my Stella? I shrill, and her piercing voice sounded from behind. Slap. The next second, my face was slapped hard. The corner of my mouth stung and went numb. Hurting, I assume you mean, intensely. My aunt burst open the door of the dormitory fiercely, and hugged my cousin tightly in her arms. Relying on the leader behind her, she pointed at my nose and cursed. Stella was missing. And it turned out to be your doing. The principal has already told me. Isn't it just that my precious baby asked a few questions in your class, and you got criticized for it? Is it necessary to be so petty and pulled a child here to bully her? I even thought we were relatives. And I respected you so much usually. It turns out you're a beast in human clothing. It was already the time for afternoon classes. It was precisely because Stella had been staying here all the time that the teacher couldn't find her. So the teacher went to find my aunt. I looked at my aunt with a ferocious expression. Whether I tried my best to help them in my previous life or indulged Stella in this life, I was labeled as the villain. The faces of this family are really disgusting. I sneered coldly. Why do you think it was me who brought her here? Is it possible that your daughter brought her mobile phone to school and hid here to play with it secretly? I shook the item in my hand. How is that possible? At first, my aunt looked disdainful, but when she took a closer look, she found that it was indeed the model that Stella used. Her face immediately turned pale. If a student secretly brings a mobile phone to school, they will be given a disciplinary warning. And it may even be recorded in the file, affecting their further education. She immediately became anxious and pulled me aside. Cindy, I was impulsive just now. Please don't say that this mobile phone was brought by Stella. Just say it's yours. We're relatives after all. When she slapped me just now, why didn't she think we were relatives? But I don't have the time to argue with her now. Okay. But the condition is that you have to unlock the phone for me. Otherwise, how can I prove it? In the end, under the threat of getting a disciplinary warning, my aunt hesitated for a long time and finally read out the password. No way. My cousin immediately became anxious and jumped up to try to snatch the phone. But I was stunned on the spot by the content in it. Honey, you're so beautiful. Can you take off a few more pieces of clothing? Husband will buy you your favorite. I assume it's a game-related skin. You can correct it if wrong skin right away. A message popped up. On it. I assume you mean, there was a photo of me with half of my clothes taken off. Although my underwear was still on and it wasn't really revealing. Just thinking that the other person was having lewd thoughts about the photo made my stomach twitch, and I felt extremely disgusted. But the sending time was 10 minutes ago. And it was already impossible to recall the message. When I scrolled up, I was shocked to find that this man had actually spent a lot of money on my cousin. Baby. My tummy is growling. Brother. Please order me some takeout. Stella had sent such messages several times. And the person on the other side didn't hesitate to buy McDonald's and small cakes and send them over. To express her gratitude, she sent a few photos of herself. Pictures of her in a cropped top for the exam paper and a red scarf as a tube top. But Stella was very smart and didn't show her face. So pretty. Husband really likes looking at such photos. But what do you look like? Baby? Send me a selfie to take a look. Stella didn't dare to take a photo of herself. So, there was the incident today where she was caught red-handed taking a photo of me secretly. I was so angry that my chest hurt. If she hadn't forgotten to turn off the flash today, perhaps I would have been kept in the dark all the time. And her chatting partners were not just one person. After exiting the current chat window, there were actually 3 or 4 other chat windows displayed on the main page. Stella generously sent photos showing her face to each person to meet their requests. My aunt obviously saw it too. Her face turned red and then pale. And she gave Stella a look of hating that she couldn't be better. In the end, She still chose to speak for her own family member. It's just a child's joke. It's just chatting with friends. Cindy. Don't be too fussy. I sneered. A joke? She's swindling people by using my name. In case something goes wrong later. Who will be responsible? Today. You must make things clear to the other party. I don't remember when I suddenly had so many boyfriends. What's swindling? My brothers are all really nice to me. Stella's voice was sharp, obviously dissatisfied with what I said. Hey. Why won't you listen when I talk to you nicely? My aunt slapped her leg. And a glint flashed in her eyes. The people on the other side not only gave money but also bought things. And all you lost was just one photo. We're all relatives. If Stella makes a profit, it's like you making a profit too. Are you stupid? There's no need to explain this matter at all. Anyway, we're not at a loss. They take all the good things. But I have to bear the risks? Before I could get angry, the security guard at the door sauntered in and grinned. Cindy. The dirty business of you having multiple lovers has been discovered. Those men all say that they are your boyfriends. Now they're clamoring to find you and demand justice. Oh dear. When you do such things, why didn't you be more careful? Now look at what happened. When I rushed to the school gate, there were already several layers of people gathered there. There were passers-by who came to watch the excitement. The school's cleaners and security guards. The most eye-catching were several men who were shoving each other. I've spent so much money on her. A whole few thousand yuan. She should be mine. Where did you guys come from? Daring to snatch a woman from me. A man in his 40s with a full beard was shouting loudly. Bullshit. This bitch has also extorted a lot of money from me. I haven't even tasted what it's like to be with a female teacher yet. I can't let this money go to waste. Another young hooligan in his early 20s with yellow hair was also shouting with a red face. There was also an honest-looking middle-aged man among them, looking full of chagrin. I should have known better than to spend money on her. I thought I could marry a wife. But it turns out she's a slut. I don't know who shouted. Cindy is here. All the people's eyes turned towards me in unison. The bearded man couldn't hold his temper the most. His face was gloomy. And he stared at me intently. You bitch. I've spent so much money on you. And you actually dared to cheat on me behind my back. The young hooligan with yellow hair, on the other hand, looked indifferent and leered. Teacher. If it weren't for seeing the work ID in your photo, I'm afraid we would all have been kept in the dark. Well, stay with me for a month, and I won't hold it against you. As he spoke, his hand also restlessly tried to touch me. I felt a moment of fear. If it weren't for the large number of people around and the presence of the security guard, these men might have just laid hands on me directly. My aunt pulled Stella and cowered behind, not daring to breathe loudly. I was so angry that I didn't know where to direct my anger. You've got the wrong person. The photo was secretly taken by someone else. In fact, the person chatting with you was my cousin. I pulled the two of them to the front and motioned for them to explain. But Stella looked extremely scared, pursed her lips, and no matter what I asked, she remained silent. Compared with her usual way of acting up and being unrelenting, she was like a completely different person. My aunt, who had just been looking flattering, now pulled a long face and pointed at me angrily. Cindy, even if you don't respect me usually, now that you've caused such a big mess, you actually want Stella to take the blame for you? Everyone has seen that you have a chaotic private life. Using a child as a shield, don't you have any shame? Whoever causes the trouble should bear the consequences. Even though I'm your aunt, I won't help you. The security guard also chimed in. That's right. Cindy was suspended from classes this morning because of her conduct issues. It's not surprising that she could do such a thing. Fine. If you don't believe me, then let's take a look together to see who the person sending the messages really is. I was so angry that I almost laughed. I tried to reach for the mobile phone, but my hand touched nothing. The mobile phone that Stella had in her pocket had disappeared without a trace. I squinted my eyes and stared coldly at my aunt. Stella is just a child. If you put this blame on her head, how will she love in school in the future? Since you're heartless and want to expose this matter, don't blame me for being unkind. She leaned close to my ear and threatened me in a low voice. The next second, she shouted at the several hooligans. I'm her aunt. If she's made a mistake, she should be punished. Whether you want to be scold her. Just don't affect other people. The crowd became restless. The matter of me having multiple lovers, under my aunt's confirmation, almost became a certainty. Several men showed lewd smiles and reached out to pull me. Honey, let's go to a hotel together and have a good talk about how you should compensate us. Just then, the sound of police sirens rang out. Fortunately, I had been careful just now and called the police before going out. Someone reported to the police, saying that the hooligans here are causing trouble maliciously. What are you all doing gathered here? My aunt's eyes flickered a few times. Sir, my niece has multiple lovers. Well, they came here to ask for an explanation. It's a family matter. Why did it even alarm you? I crossed my arms and watched her performance. Then do you dare to take out the mobile phone and let everyone see the chat records? This time, my aunt was unexpectedly straightforward. Sure. Go ahead. What do I have to hide? As I expected, the chat records in it, and even the WeChat account, had been cancelled with one click. She really was quick at doing this. But since you're already here, sir, please do us a favor and persuade my niece to pay back the money. This can't go on like this. I wasn't worried either and continued following her words. Then how should I compensate? There are 3 people, and they've all spent a few thousand yuan on you. Plus the mental damage compensation. You should give each of them 20 yuan and then kneel down and apologize. As an elder, I'll consider this matter settled. My aunt smiled at the police, looking as if she was thinking of me. That won't do. I came here with the intention of finding a wife. Without 70 or 80 yuan. Don't even think about getting rid of me. The honest man who had been silent all along, seeing that there was a chance to profit, couldn't help but make an excessive demand. It can be discussed. After all, we were in the wrong first. My aunt nodded and agreed with a smile. I didn't refute, but changed the topic and looked at the police. Can you check the IP address of the chat account? I don't know who the person who cheated the money is, but they also have no evidence to prove that it's me. If we can see where the account is, can't we figure out who it is? The police were also half convinced about my aunt's words. Hearing what I said, they nodded repeatedly. The young hooligan with yellow hair looked disdainful. Is there any use in making a pointless struggle? The location must be in the school. My aunt wanted to stop it, but she had no reason to. Before long, the IP address appeared on the screen. Building 306. Room 503. Fangin Community. The police's voice echoed in the air. I pretended to be surprised. Isn't this your home, Aunt? You said the person who cheated the money was me. Could it be that I secretly came to your home to use the Wi-Fi? Oh, how would I know? Could it be that someone is deliberately smearing and spreading rumors? How about we stop the investigation? She was in a hurry now. She didn't expect that even after canceling the account, the police could still trace it back to her. After bullying me, she wants to just brush it off like this? In your dreams. Looking at the time when the messages were sent, most of them were after school. I was staying in the school teacher's dormitory, and other teachers can testify for me. So it couldn't have been me. During this time, both Auntie and Stella happened to be at home. Which one of you sent the messages? It's really hard to guess. I pretended not to see the way Auntie was winking at me. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone looked at the mother and daughter meaningfully. One was a married woman in her 40s or 50s, and the other was a just-turned adult senior 3 student. No matter which one of them did the thing of having an online romance, it would make people laugh their heads off. Why don't we go to your home and check? As long as we see if the purchased JK elite addresses are there, we can clear your names. After all, I don't believe that Auntie's family would do such a thing either. I blinked my eyes, looking anxious. But Auntie blushed and couldn't say anything for a long time, because she knew that the things bought by these men were all carefully stored by Stella in the cabinet. And if they were checked, the truth would be revealed. A long time passed, so long that several hooligans showed impatient expressions. I said, Auntie, numadado sorry. Is it that difficult to go and take a look? Did your daughter do this? Just as the hooligan was about to argue with Stella, Auntie looked as if she had made up her mind. It was me. It was me. She simply decided to face the music and took all the blame on herself. I was not surprised by this at all. After all, as a middle-aged wage earner, not many people would care if her reputation was a bit bad. But if Stella was confirmed to have done this, she wouldn't be able to stay in school anymore. What the hell? Auntie. I can accept it if it was with a student. But what are you doing here? It's so disgusting. Are you still sexually frustrated at your age? The hooligan with yellow hair was the first to get angry. Sister. You're older than me. You called me big brother, and asked me to buy you the JK style skins for the egg characters. Are you crazy? The honest man, seeing that the potential marriage partner he had in hand was gone, looked full of grief and indignation. However, the middle-aged man with stubble wasn't too excited. Elder sister. You see, there isn't much difference in our ages. How about? Looking at Auntie's expression as if she had constipation, I could hardly hold back my laughter. I cleared my throat and spoke. Now the truth is out. Auntie. Just as you said. Pay back the money that should be paid back and apologize that should be apologized. You know, at your age, you still do such things. If you did it, you should have the courage to admit it. Auntie, who originally wanted to apologize and leave, turned pale as a dish when I mentioned the money. She asked through gritted teeth. Isn't it better to leave some leeway when dealing with people? I'm your auntie. Why are you still bringing this up? I pretended to be surprised. Auntie, you just taught me to be brave enough to take responsibility for my actions. You've lived most of your life. This little money shouldn't mean much to you, right? Or do you want to get something for nothing? Hearing me say this, those online dating partners were unhappy. Auntie, you deceived us out of our money and feelings. It's already good that we're not asking you for mental damage compensation. Quickly return the money we spent, or you'll suffer. In the end, under the witness of the police, Auntie tremblingly opened the bank card on her phone and transferred out a large sum of money. It was only after the crowd dispersed that she dropped her disguise and burst into tears. She pointed at Stella and cursed. You little wretch. You've ruined me. It's a full 100,000 yuan. Do you know how many years it will take me to save that much money? But my cousin didn't care at all. If you're poor, don't give birth to me. You gave birth to me, but don't take responsibility. Such a family of origin and really makes me feel sad. I have so many fans online. I can get money just by casually posting a video. You're really narrow-minded. Since Stella had a falling out with her several online dating partners, the frequency of her coming to school became lower and lower. It was just the most crucial time for Senior 3. Teachers of all subjects were explaining the final key points for the college entrance examination. Since Stella didn't listen, her grades naturally plummeted. From being in the middle of the grade at first, she suddenly became one of the bottom students. I don't know what Auntie was thinking, but she let Stella hold her phone and scroll through Manjawi every day. Soon, let out a low sigh. I saw my cousin in the videos of nearby friends. I'm looking for a cold and aloof Buddhist guy. I'm currently preparing for pregnancy. I hope to have a beautiful baby and become the most beautiful pregnant woman, so that I can join the pregnant woman army. Ordinary people will become old, and Lufa looks not long after giving birth. But I'm different. Even after giving birth, I'll still be like a baby, and my husband will surely love me to death. In the video, Stella was wearing the JK uniform she had deceived others for, pretending to twist and turn. The combination of her childish appearance and the sexy but low-quality clothes made it particularly uncomfortable to look at. There were many spiritual guys in the same city in the comment section asking for her contact information. Stella accepted everyone. She even sent me a message to show off on WeChat. Old hag. I'm a big internet celebrity now. I have countless suitors. Are you envious? One of them is the school bully of the neighboring high school. The kind with countless followers. He's pursuing me. I can't imagine how happy our baby will be. He'll be born as the child of a school bully. I was speechless after reading it. Do the combined ages of these two people even reach the size of my shoe? The so-called school bully she mentioned might actually be a good-for-nothing hooligan who fights every day. The Pregnant Woman Army was actually a brainwashing organization composed of a group of pregnant women without correct values. Not minding making things worse, I directly forwarded several videos and chat records to Auntie. A few days later, the two of them came to my office. My cousin had an exaggerated makeup on, with tear troughs bigger than her fingernails, 2 streaks of black nose shadows, and mirror lip glaze covering most of her philtrum. If she was just influenced by the man-jowie culture a month ago, now she was completely man-jowie-ized. What do you want? I don't want to come to school. I've already agreed with the school bully brother that we're going to live together and prepare for pregnancy. Why do you always ruin my good things? Auntie, on the other hand, was holding many gifts and had a big smile on her face. When someone offers kindness for no apparent reason, there must be something fishy going on. After arguing with me for a long time, she finally stammered out the purpose of this visit. Cindy, you know that the college entrance examination is coming up soon, and Stella's grades have never been very good. Do you think we should hire a tutor? I pretended not to understand and nodded solemnly. Yes. We really need to hire a good teacher to give her some tutoring. Otherwise, it's uncertain whether she can even get into a school. Auntie had tears in her eyes and was almost about to kneel down in front of me. Since we're all relatives. Cindy, can you do me a favor? I'll feel at ease if you teach Stella. Sure enough, this was what she was up to. After losing 100,000 yuan, Auntie's wallet was empty, and she naturally didn't want to spend more money on hiring a teacher. So what could she do? Naturally, hadn't the she set her sights on me and wanted to get a tutor for free. With the lesson from my previous life, I naturally didn't want to get involved in this mess. By then, if Stella blamed me for ruining her relationship with the school bully, who could I reason with? Auntie, Heppel? We can't be so selfish. I shouted at the top of my voice. Acting? Who can't do that? The college entrance examination is coming soon. Not only does Stella need me, but every student in my class needs me. As the homeroom teacher, how can I be so selfish as to divide my energy for Stella and ignore them? These are the hopes of dozens of families. Auntie was stunned on the spot by my lofty words. Many parents who came to the school to inquire about their children's grades heard the conversation and became anxious. Of course, they wouldn't allow Auntie to a special treatment. Otherwise, who would take care of their own children? After several people talked one after another, in the end, Auntie blushed and could only lead dejectedly. After the college entrance examination ended, the result was obvious. Stella's grades were unprecedentedly bad. She wasn't even qualified to enter a wild pheasant university. But she didn't care at all. On the day of coming to school to fill out the college application forms, she was even overjoyed. You mean that with my grades, I can't get into any school? So, I can drop out of school. This is simply great. Most internet celebrities online have a low education level. It's precisely because they entered society earlier and those bookworms that they have more chances of success. As long as I drop out of school, that will be the first step to success. I looked at Stella coldly as she threw down the application form and didn't try to stop her. If I gave her good advice, she might even bite back and think that I was trying to prevent her from achieving success. Since that's the case, I want to see how you will become an internet celebrity in the end. During the summer vacation after the college entrance examination, in order to follow the old path of becoming a man-jowie internet celebrity, Stella found a job in an electronics factory. And she made friends with a group of like-minded spiritual girls in the factory. Photos of toilet warriors. Group photos of paper dolls. Buddhist guys from the Beijing circle. There was nothing they couldn't think of and nothing they couldn't take pictures of. Auntie came to my home several times, crying and begging. Cindy, you're a teacher. Go and persuade Stella. She hasn't been home for many days. She's been living in the factory and staying with a group of hooligans every day. She's only 18 years old. This child actually didn't fill out the college entrance examination volunteer form, and didn't even tell me about it. In the future, our family is counting on Stella. And there can't be any mistakes. Looking at my aunt who was crying her eyes out, I just felt it was ironic. If she hadn't thought there was profit to be made and indulged Stella in having online romances and cheating for money, how could a simple child have turned out like this? I advised my parents not to get involved, so as not to get themselves into trouble. After all, I had already experienced the consequences of meddling in other people's business in my last life. However, just a few days after we had some peaceful days, my aunt came to me again. She called the police and came to the school to look for me with a large group of people. The reason was that Stella had been deceived into joining a pyramid scheme company. The company claimed that it could turn the newly signed talents into A-list celebrities. Some celebrities like Bing Bang and Jifei were said to be their artists. Normal people wouldn't believe it, but the company targeted those with low education levels. Coincidentally, having fulfilled my obsession, Stella, who was eager to become a big internet celebrity, having fulfilled my obsession, was attracted by the company's gimmick. She signed a shady contract and hadn't been home for more than half a month. My aunt was extremely anxious. When she went to inquire, she found out that if she didn't complete the tasks in the company's contract, she couldn't terminate the contract. And even her personal freedom couldn't be guaranteed. Looking at the Skyge liquidated damages, my aunt panicked. Even if she worked for a lifetime, she couldn't pay off this debt. After hearing all this, I was full of doubts. So, what does this have to do with me? My aunt slapped her thigh and threw a tantrum on the ground. You're my child's teacher. I trusted you so much. But you lead her astray. You didn't even tell me about the college entrance examination volunteer form, which caused Stella to have no school to attend. It's all your fault that my child is like this. And you should pay this money. At first, the police felt quite sympathetic. But seeing my aunt's unreasonable behavior, they gradually lost their patience. Madam, is this the person you said has harmed your daughter? Sorry. If that's the case, we can't help you. In the end, my aunt scraped together money from everywhere, and even borrowed high-interest loans to pay off the liquidated damages. She went to pick up Stella full of joy, but the scene in front of her completely broke her down. Stella was wearing a purple dress with a slightly protruding belly, and there was a young man with yellow hair beside her. The two of them were chatting and laughing. How can you be so shameless? For a girl, the most important thing is her virginity. And you're actually pregnant. My aunt stepped forward a few steps, pushed the young man with yellow hair away hard, grabbed Stella's hair, and slapped her in the face. Ah! Stella wasn't paying attention for a moment and actually slipped and fell to the ground. Blood stained the cement road, and the screams mixed with curses resounded through the sky. In the end, Stella was sent to the hospital, but the baby couldn't be saved. I was about to become a pregnant woman. You damned old woman. You killed my baby. My mentor became a big internet celebrity by getting pregnant and having a baby. I was so close to success. Why don't you just die? As soon as Stella woke up, she cursed at her mother. But my aunt seemed not to hear it. Being traditional, all she could think about was that her daughter had lost her virginity. Where's that young man with yellow hair? He's the father of the child. Even though the baby is gone, you two have already had a relationship. Hurry up and find someone to get married. Otherwise, I don't think anyone will want you in the future. Stella blinked. Who said he's the father of the child? I got together with him after I was pregnant. I just wanted to have a child, and it didn't matter who the father was. There were so many people that day, and I can't remember clearly. You're so annoying. You old hag. I have to get pregnant again for my career. It's so troublesome. When she said this, it shocked everyone's values. How dare you? For a moment, the hospital ward was in chaos, and it was extremely lively. I watched this farce and left with a smile. After these incidents, our family and my aunt's family were completely cut off from each other. It had been a long time since I heard news about Stella again. My aunt had been running around all day to pay off the high-interest loans she had borrowed, and she developed one illness after another. As for Stella, she was kicked out of the house by her mother and left to fend for herself completely. On Manjawi, I assume it's a platform name. You can correct it if wrong. I could still see the videos she posted from time to time. There were vlogs about preparing for a second pregnancy. And the daily life of her relationship with a person from the Beijing entertainment circle. Regarding this, I expressed my blessings. And I was preparing for the school teacher evaluation for excellence. My future still had a long way to go.